Let's welcome our guest. Hermela Aragawi is an independent Ethiopian-American journalist and part-time community organizer who was a reporter and anchor with CBS Los Angeles for 3 years. She's also helped launch the hashtag No More as part of a global grassroots movement created to defend Africa and the African diaspora from U.S. imperialist exploitation. Hermela, welcome back to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good to be back.
So now the reason why I brought you on, we talked about Ethiopia before. You're Ethiopian, and the United States, of course, is backing the terrorists in Ethiopia to overthrow any chance of a peaceful government and a stable government between Somalia, Ethiopia, and how do you say the other country's name? Eritrea. Eritrea. Okay, there you go. Yeah. God, I'm so dumb. But
no,
anyway.
you're gonna be an expert in no time.
Okay, but here we go. The reason why I have you on today is because this story. So, only 4 out of 55 African leaders attend the Zelensky call, showing neutrality on Ukraine and Russia. Now, it seems like the West is afraid that Africa is not on board with their Ukraine war. In fact, here's what Samantha Powers. Now, you know who Samantha Powers is. She's the war criminal who's lied about the Palestinians, the Syrian war, Ukraine. Now she's back doing it again. And here she is she tweeted this out. She says, "My reaction from the Horn of Africa on Putin's grotesque attack on the port of Odessa." So here's what she says.
I'm here in the Horn of Africa where 19 million people have become entirely dependent on emergency humanitarian assistance. That is in large part because of an unprecedented drought in which 4 straight so-called rainy seasons have produced almost no rain, decimating livelihoods, livestock, and human lives. The only little glimmer of hope that I've heard in my conversations with people here who are so vulnerable and have become so destitute because of this drought is the word that Russia had finally agreed to allow the 20 million metric tons of grains that have been stockpiled in Ukrainian ports to go. This was a glimmer of hope. This was something people said, okay, maybe prices will come down, maybe we'll be able to get access to the wheat. Now we just get word that Russian forces have bombed the port infrastructure in Odessa, the very port infrastructure that is needed to move these grains out on the Black Sea. This is grotesque, and it is just the latest indication of the cold indifference Vladimir Putin has for the cost of the war in Ukraine, a man-made war that he created for no reason.
What? As opposed to all the other natural occurring wars that just happen from nature. This is as opposed to her Iraq war or Libya war or Syrian war, Afghanistan war. This Ukraine war is a man-made war. Hang on. I couldn't stop help myself, but here we go.
It's in Ukraine, to human life there, and the ripple effects all around the world.
So now let me bring in Hermela. What would you say now? Why is that important? First of all, why is she doing that? How about that?
You know, first of all, Horn of Africa is a whole region, so we have no idea where she is. It could be that just her charter plane stopped in the middle of the desert of somewhere in one of the 4 countries of the Horn of Africa and says to us that we spoke with people here and the only glimmer of hope they told us that they have is word that Russia. How would they even know that unless you're telling them that? These are people that have food insecurity. They didn't hear that breaking news. So that automatically lets me know she's making that up. And she's there concerned about the Horn of Africa, but shift gears back to Putin, putting it on Putin and the war in Russia, this war that was created for no reason. I have never heard of a war that was created for no reason to begin with. And, you know, a lot of bad reasons, but definitely not no reason. And if you look at the comment section on that, I mean, African diaspora are just ripping her a new one. Here she comes, a mother of death. After reading all these replies, I have come to the conclusion that you are hated by most around the world. Nobody believes your propaganda. The people of HOA are a step ahead of you. I mean, I was sitting there just like, I wanted to pop some popcorn because the comment section were very therapeutic because it's so spot on. Like, who is her audience? You know, it's not Africans. So I wonder if it's donors. I wonder, like, it cannot be the people of the Horn of Africa. They are not buying this, and they haven't bought it for a very long time.
You say her nickname is the Mother of Death?
There's people that have her holding, I don't know what it is, this huge like sword looking thing. I mean, people see her and they cringe because she has been speaking in a way that is pro this terrorist group. We're going on almost 2 years of this war, and they've been delivering a lot of aid to the Tigray region, which is really a terrorist stronghold at this point. But if they would support the democratically elected government, they wouldn't have to do that. And even with this war and all the challenges that Ethiopia, a country of 120 million, is going through, the wheat production has actually gone up 70% in Ethiopia because they don't want to be used like this. They know that food insecurity is going to be the thing that makes videos like that possible.
So she's there saying that the people in the Horn of Africa, which you say is made up of 4 different countries, right?
Yep.
Somalia, Ethiopia,
Eritrea, Djibouti, small, but yes, that's really the Horn. I mean, she also went to Kenya, she said, but that's not usually considered a part of the Horn.
And the people there wouldn't be privy or talking about the inside workings of, hey, is he going to be, what's he doing with the Odessa port? People in the Horn of Africa, that's not on their mind.
News. Yeah, they're not on Twitter. I mean, it's not like she's not saying something general about the war. She's saying this news that we just got is their only glimmer of hope.
Please, Ms. Power, is there word of Odessa?
Miss Power, please tell me the latest from Odessa.
I guarantee those people don't know what Odessa is.
They don't even, right. How would they even know what Odessa is? Now, I also heard that the reason why there's a lot of grains not being able to get out of the Odessa port is because Ukraine themselves mine their own port. And and ships aren't willing to go in there. So that of course you're only getting part of the information. So so I just want to show you this story which kind of talks about this. Putin's media, this is from Bloomberg News, says Putin's media blitz on Africa food crisis sparks alarm in Europe. Here's another one. It says exclusive internal report shows European Union fears losing Africa over Ukraine. With Europe and Africa increasingly split over the war in Ukraine, European diplomats have argued in a confidential report for a more transactional approach to foreign aid that would tie funding for African countries to their willingness to work based on common values and a joint, meaning support our wars.
Absolutely. Like that's been the pressure. We talked about the Congressional Bill 7311, which is now even more relevant, which basically says to African countries, choose sides, or else there's going to be consequences. There was this former diplomat, Dore, who basically said Africans better say to Putin in one voice, like to stop it, as if they have some sort of power to stop the war. And this is also a really critical time, and that article that you just brought up is really important because the Russian foreign minister is in Addis like today on the 26th to talk to the African Union Commission. So this is a really critical point for the U.S. also to make its case. But if that's making its case, it's losing. U.S.-Ethiopia relations go back over 100 years. The fact that in the past 4 years they've been destroyed the way that they have is really a testament to the lack of competence or some sort of, in some instances, without bringing up specifics, there seems to be personal relationships with people that are in the TPLF. It doesn't make sense otherwise, because it's not in the US interest. The way that certain people, individuals, go to bat for this group is anti-American interest. So it's just, they keep being a dead horse. Ethiopia keeps standing on its own ground and planting wheat, knowing that this kind of thing was going to happen. In December 2021, there was a summit for democracy for African states. 17 out of 54 were invited. African states are saying, yeah, this is actually affecting our food supply. So why don't you guys try to figure out a political solution to the war? And the sanctions that you're putting on Russia appear to also be having an impact on us. And I would say a third rather, of the African continent is under sanctions, but either through the EU or the US. So there's so many ways for them to relieve the stress on the African continent, but they just want to utilize it to untangle their mess in Ukraine.
So there's actually more. There's a little bit more to the story. It said, on one hand, the report calls for understanding and empathy for African challenges and willingness to help find concrete solution, but it also underlies that Europe is the main indirect victim of Russian President Vladimir Putin's war of aggression, citing dramatic consequences in all aspects: security, economic, financial, social, migration, 7 million refugees, unemployment. And it opens the possibility of calibrating foreign aid from Europe according to Africa's stance. So basically they're going to give you money if you go along with our imperialism, right? That's what they're saying.
100%. That's exactly what they're saying. I mean, that's why Ethiopia has been very resistant. I mean, they've gone ahead and increased their food and wheat production because they don't want to be in a position as a country of 120 million. They do not want to be in the hands of the US when it's creating messes like this. I'm not saying it's all one-sided, but they don't want to be held hostage. It has nothing to do with them. That's what most African states are saying. We don't want anything to do with it. It has nothing to do with us. And that's not an option in many cases. And that's the problem. And so
the United States and Europe are twisting Africa's arm into taking its stance and being involved in this Ukraine proxy war for who knows what, and they're resisting it. So I thought they can't grow wheat there. You're saying that they're growing more wheat now, but I just saw a report from her. She's there, and she says...
You saw how flat that ground was behind her. There was no wheat. It was dusty and dry.
Right, this generic Horn of Africa backdrop. I mean, she was probably likely in Somalia, which is experiencing the most drought. Ethiopia is doing okay. It's a rainy season. The production is fine there. That's why she's making it a general. Somalia is a smaller state. I mean, if the war in Ethiopia wasn't happening, Ethiopia could probably do more for Somalia. And to that point, that transactional point that the EU head is making, let's make everything transactional. What about all the cobalt that's coming out of Congo for free while the country is being driven into war? I'm all for transactional. But, if you want to buy something, pay for it, right? If you want something, pay for it. But that's not how it goes when it comes to a lot of the resources. So the fact that they now want to make aid transactional based on a stance on a war that the continent has nothing to do with is just double the hypocrisy. And that is why that article is saying the EU knows they are losing the hearts and minds of the African people. And that was a very hard feat. I mean, they worked really hard to earn that.
Yeah, well, they did it. So, well,
hey, do you think it was all dry and flat because when Susan Power passes through, the crops wilt?
Samantha Powers. Oh, there's so many, theories I won't get into about what happens when aid agencies get there and all of a sudden this weird, not native to that land plant is planted and then it eats up the ground and so nothing can grow there. Like those kind of stories.
It's not like in Black Panther where they team up with the CIA to fight evil.
I mean, it's not that far off.
All right.
I mean, it's the opposite. It's true, but yeah, there's definitely some of that in there.
Well, Hermela Al-Argawi, thank you so much for she's our Ethiopian correspondent for all things Africa here at the Jimmy Dore Show. So
that's good.
I really appreciate it. That gives us an edge up on all the other shows. So I enjoy that. All right. So thank you so much. And where should people go find more information?
I'm on Twitter at Hermela TV and on YouTube also at Hermela TV. So that's the best place to find me.
Okay, Hermela TV. Thanks. Great to see you again. Talk soon.
Jimmy, thank you so much.
Come see our stand-up comedy. We'll be in Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, lots more. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.